This episode of the Verdict Podcast is brought to you by Impressive, the smoking accessories company. Impressive makes stylish, luxury smoking accessories for the young millennial. These products not only come at a great price, but are only meant to be purchased one time. They have premium mat grinders, electronic lighters, and multifunction vape batteries. Impressive also provides free shipping all over the U.S. Visit smokeimpressive.com and use our code VERDICT to get an additional 10% off when you check out. That's smokeimpressive.com using promo code VERDICT. And now, let's get to it.
I'm joined right now by one parent, Lizette Rosenblatt, a mother whose daughter was, thankfully, able to escape from the school unharmed. Lizette, first of all...
Today, something never thought to experience.
Yo, what up? Welcome to episode 64 of my premium podcast experience, The Verdict Podcast. I'm your host, Splash Jordan. Joined with me today, who do we got? That's right, no, Noinek this episode. Say that 5 times fast. No, Noinek. Anyway, due to some scheduling conflicts, I'll be going this episode solo, or so you may think. Actually, I'm not going to do it alone. I have on good authority that there is an individual interested in speaking with the Verdict Podcast. Whom, you may say? Well, I wouldn't be wrong in calling this man a pioneer of sorts, a trailblazer, and a true American hero. Oh, man, I'm speaking, of course, of Zachary Baker from season 1 of 60 Days In. He's going to call up here in a few minutes and talk to us about what it was like, his life as a police officer, voluntarily spending 60 days away from his family behind bars and having the whole thing televised for us to see and talk about it. Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Not a whole lot, brother. How you doing?
Doing well. Appreciate you taking time out doing this. It's actually kind of surreal seeing a person on TV form a one-sided connection and then actually interacting with them one-on-one. It's a little kind of, I don't know how to adjust to it fully, but
real quick. So talk about one-sided. We were literally 2 minutes away from closing the doors at work, and 2 blacked out Escalades pulled up, and Channing Tatum and his posse walked in the door. So I was like, I'm going to stick around for a little while and keep working.
Right. Man, that's crazy. Like this,
yeah.
Right. So are you a Channing Tatum fan?
He has some good work.
Yeah, he definitely does. He does. All right, cool. So tell me a little bit about you. So, coming from Knoxville, tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
I grew up in Tennessee, both ends of the state, and North Mississippi. So about as southern as you can get. Very conservative family. My dad's a preacher. My mom worked for Criminal Investigation Division for the state of Tennessee. My grandfather was Tennessee Highway Patrol for 25 years. So there was a lot of law enforcement, a lot of very conservative values instilled in me by the family. It was a very close-knit family, and still is to this day. So, I grew up somewhat sheltered compared to a lot of people that I know now and a lot of people that I have met throughout my life. Definitely shaped me a little differently than what could have been.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting to hear you say. So, has there always been an interest in, when you were young, did you always want a career in law enforcement?
Like every kid, I played cops and robbers when I was a kid, and all the other games that kids play. But in actuality, when I was a kid, my main goal was being a veterinarian. That was my dream for as long as I can remember. When I was 5 years old, I told my parents I wanted to be a veterinarian and started working towards that goal then. And basically throughout my entire upbringing, I was geared toward veterinarian, went to college for animal science. And then life kind of took a little bit of a turn. And I don't even remember exactly why. I guess it started with the military, because when I was a senior in high school, I tried to join the military, and I was only 17 when I graduated high school, and my mom wouldn't sign for me. because she was scared about me going overseas because it was 2003. Afghanistan had just started.
Okay.
And I had already planned on going to college, so she wanted to wait. So I went to college, did that for 4 years, and then took a couple years off and was like, I really don't have any. I was working as a bartender. I really didn't have any direction in my life. Decided to join the Marine Corps. When I got back from Afghanistan, I missed the camaraderie and the brotherhood, but I didn't like the part where I was away from my family and everything else. So I was trying to find something similar to that and still protecting people, because that, for whatever reason, that's something that's always been a part of me, is wanting to protect people, be the person that takes care of people who can't take care of themselves. And that goes for animals as well. I guess that's why I wanted to become a veterinarian, because, take care of things that can't take care of themselves. So after being in the Marine Corps, law enforcement just seemed like the next natural step in order to keep that camaraderie and that brotherhood without having to be away from all of my family all the time. I can put the badge on in the morning and then take it off at night when I go home to my family.
Okay. Man, there's a lot to digest. I'm somewhat similar. Both of my parents were military. My father, he actually died active duty in the Navy. We weren't super close, but he did probably close to, I would say, 20 years in the Navy. My mom put about 12 or 16 in the Air Force, and my brother, he was in the Air Force Reserve. The passion, it skipped over me, but I definitely have appreciation for those in the military and who serve, and the types of things that they deal with and go through. So I appreciate your service. I heard you say that things kind of took a turn. So you were saying that you wanted to be a veterinarian. You joined the military. You later were a police officer. At what point were you approached about doing a reality television show?
So I was actually approached. I had been somewhat active in some online discussions and things like that, and got a private message one day and was like, "Hey, we have an opportunity that we'd like to present to you. Are you interested in hearing about it?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, well, first you have to sign this waiver saying that you're not going to tell anybody about it." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so they talked to me a couple times before they ever told me what the actual thing was. And the reason they approached me was because of my military background and my law enforcement background combined. It just kind of went from there. And like being in reality TV had never been something that I had really looked at as something I wanted to do. Never wanted to be an actor or anything like that. But my thing has always been aimed at helping people. There are a couple production companies in Knoxville that do TV shows, and I'm sure if anybody has watched the show and follows Ashley or me, they know that we both were involved in a TV show prior to the 60 Days In show as extras on a crime drama reenactment series. The reason for that,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's called Homicide Hunter. It's on
wow,
A&E as well.
That's dope.
And we had both done so we'd answered a Craigslist ad and said, "Need extras, paid cash daily." And we were like, "Hey, we're not working, or we've got a few days off. Let's go make some extra cash and try out." And we did, and we both got picked up for the thing. And it was literally like I was on one episode, and I think she was on 2 episodes. Nice. And it wasn't like anything that we were looking to pursue or anything like that. It was extra cash in our pocket. And I think that might have had a little bit of an effect on us getting chosen for the show later on. Okay. Because we had been in front of a camera before.
Okay. So you guys have felt comfortable, and then you had an extensive, history in law enforcement and military. So did that present any challenges or conflicting emotions, like kind of like, going from one side where, it's your job to kind of, put people in the situation. And then now that you're here and you're kind of seeing what's going on, did that have any stress or turmoil on you, or how did you adjust in that, predicament?
So the biggest issue that it created for me was my biggest fear actually going in was I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb because, as I mentioned before with my upbringing, I was very straight laced, never really went outside the lines. And I wasn't sure if anybody was going to believe that I was actually an inmate. So I just kind of used my military background as my crutch to say, hey, the reason I act this way is because I'm a Marine. So as far as turmoil about being on the other side, yeah, there was. But with my upbringing, one of the things that my father was very good about instilling in me as a minister, he said, look, everybody's a human and everybody makes mistakes. There's no perfect person. And if there is a perfect person, they're lying. So you can't look at somebody that did one bad thing or two bad things and call them a bad person. Everybody's a human. We all do good things in our life and we all make mistakes. So you just have to kind of roll with it. So people choose different paths in their life, but me wanting to be a cop doesn't mean that I'm any better than somebody who might have made a couple mistakes that got them put on the wrong side of the law. Now, when people continually do things that keep them on the wrong side of the law and keep, reverting to that cycle, that's where the issue comes in. Going in, I didn't view anybody as a lesser person because they're actually an inmate and I've never done anything that would rate me being an inmate. That wasn't my mentality going in.
Right on, right on. Okay. And you mentioned your backstory. So was that something that you came up with on your own, or were there ever any moments where you felt like, people, I know you said that you said that you thought you would stick out like a sore thumb, but were there ever any moments that, you felt like somebody was on to you, or, you might be getting found out?
Yeah. So I think pretty much everybody went through the moment where you think they know. And it definitely happened to me. It was about a week in, and people it was actually after one of the camera crews had come in and talked to me, and I kind of stayed calm. But I didn't seek out the camera crews; they came to me, and I stayed calm when I was talking to them. And then after that, a couple of the inmates came over and was like, "Hey, we know what you are." And I was like, "What is that?" And they're like, "You're a plant. You were put in here, weren't you?" And I was like, "Dude," I was like, "Do you know anybody that would go to jail willingly, voluntarily?" I'm like, "Well, how'd you stay so calm in front of the TV cameras?" And I was like, "Because I'm a Marine and Marines stay calm all the time." And so I just kind of tried to play it off like that.
Right.
And I think it worked. And actually talking to a couple of the inmates that I stay in contact with since the show, that after I got out and when the show started airing on TV, there were several inmates that didn't believe that I was a plant until they watched the show. Like, they refused to believe that I wasn't actually an inmate.
Wow.
So I think that said something good about, my ability to blend in. They gave me a bare bones version of my backstory. And I said, hey, I'm going to have to flesh this out a little bit and make it sound believable coming from somebody like me. So I made it seem like I was just a Marine who just came home and was in the wrong place at the wrong time and got locked up for being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
Which is a common story for tons of people,
For sure. Yes, definitely pretty common. So, okay, so watching yourself on TV, do you like how do you feel like you represented yourself, like how you want to be seen, or like, do you feel like, you carried yourself, with integrity, like on TV, or like, do you like how you looked?
So in the first season, I definitely like how I looked. In the first season, like the entire time I was in jail, I was always thinking to myself, you have to do the right thing. And I mean, not that I don't do that as a general rule anyway, but I was like, always keeping in the back of my mind, there's a camera watching me, so I can't screw this up. And maybe that makes me lesser of a person. I don't know, but I like the way I was presented in the first season. I feel like that's more of my true self, honestly. And the second season,
I think you should like how you looked. I mean, I like the way you handled the situation. Me personally,
Sure.
I definitely like the way you approached it and how you responded to the stuff that was going on. Like if it were me, I would hope that I could handle it, in a similar fashion where I'm able to, make decisions calmly, without looking, phased at all.
Sure. And then that was my biggest goal is just, they always make the joke about a duck looks so calm on the top, but under the water, his little feet are going 90 to nothing. That's kind of how my entire time in jail was. On the surface, I tried to stay as calm as possible, but underneath, my mind was spinning constantly, always trying to look at any possible situation that could come up, and like always trying to figure out, well, always thinking, what's going to happen if I do this, or what's going to happen if this happens to me? What am I going to do here? And so on and so forth. And so that's kind of how it was going the whole time. Now, on the second season, obviously I wasn't on camera any during the second season. They just played the phone conversation that Ashley and I had,
Right.
and I didn't really like the way they cut things up a little bit.
Right. For editing, they wanted to make it seem like, there was some
Yeah,
tension.
they wanted to make it seem a lot more dramatic than it actually was. But a funny fact, or not funny, it's actually kind of sad and disheartening, but a little known fact that a lot of people don't know, the show played up really big on the drama in Ashley and my marriage and how our marriage was so rocky and on the rocks and hurting, and we were so close to divorce and all this other junk that they tried to portray the way they edited us on the show. But so the show aired. I was in jail in 2015. Ashley was in jail in 2016. Out of the 4 seasons that have aired, or now 5, I guess, but out of the first 4 seasons, that's the ones that I really know. Um, Ashley and I are still married, and 9 couples married or engaged while the show was being filmed are no longer together. But the cameras didn't really reveal that, and they didn't really put that out there. So it just that's the biggest thing that irks me about the way we were portrayed on the show is that they, me and Ashley both, that they made it look like our marriage was so rocky, but they didn't say anything about all these other people who are now divorced and no longer together. But Ashley and I are still going strong. So that's the one thing that kind of irks me about it.
I could see that being irksome. I could see that being irritating, especially just real life that's going on. It's like, I don't really need, this type of, negative energy and, bad mojo kind of, coming in my direction. You kind of wishing that on me and, and I'm really just over here trying to live my life. So I could definitely see that being irritating.
Absolutely.
And you kind of mentioned, okay, yeah, that you were in jail behind bars season 1, and your wife, that was a bit of a shock when they said that Ashley was going to be going to jail in season 2. So of those 2 seasons, which was harder for you? You being behind bars away from your family, or being with your family and your wife being behind bars?
Honestly, I can't really say one was actually harder than the other. And that's not to say that both weren't hard,
Right.
is but they had their different types of hard. So like when I was in jail, and it's the same way with when I was deployed. Like when you're away from life, you don't really have to focus on the day to day of, oh, I've got to be at this appointment and
Right.
I got to be here. So being in jail is actually kind of easy as far as that goes. I mean, you really ain't got to think about anything except making sure that you don't piss off the wrong person.
Right.
Um, at least for while I was in jail. Now, I know that's not how it is for people who are in jail and concerned about what their trial is going to say and how their case is going to turn out.
Right. That's true.
It's a whole different bag. But for me personally, being in jail was really, it just made life simple for the most part. Being out in the real world while Ashley was in jail, that was back to regular life, sort of. But I had a 3-month-old baby that I was taking care of by myself, and there's not a lot of men that get to experience that. And I'm not, notice I said get to experience that because I wouldn't trade that time with my oldest son for anything in the world, because I feel like we develop, even though he's only 3 months old to 5 months old, and they say that he's not going to remember that. I think it still in his subconscious
Absolutely.
will know that was there, like knows that was there, knows that happened, knows that daddy took care of him. So, both of them had their ups and their downs, but I wouldn't say one was harder than the other.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned how you come from a conservative upbringing. When you told your family about the situation, what was their reaction?
So I told my family, because we literally had to sign a disclosure thing saying that we weren't going to talk about it to anybody except our significant other or our spouse. So I told my family that I was going to be gone for a couple months for training for a job, and then that's what Ashley told them. And then after we were released to talk about where we had been, that's when I brought it up to them, because I didn't want them to get smacked in the face with me being in jail on TV and then trying
Right.
to figure out what's going on.
Right.
When I explained to them my reasons behind going to jail, which was trying to gain a perspective that not many people in the world, if any, have as far as law enforcement officers go, and doing anything I can to try to make myself able to get back into law enforcement. They were supportive and they understood why I had done it, and they backed me 100%. And they know that, like I said, my dad has always taught me, you know, everybody is human, everybody has their ups. They knew that I wasn't going to be perfect, but they also knew that I was going to do my best to um, make it as good of a situation as possible and make something good come out of whatever it was I was doing.
Oh, great. So that's good to hear that you had their support. Do now that it's over, or you guys' season is behind you. Do you have any? I know you said that you've been on in the show prior, but do you have any plans to return to acting or return to TV? Do you have anything like that? Anything lined up in the works?
So I don't have anything in the works. I don't have anything lined up, and I'm not actively pursuing any acting or reality TV or anything like that. Um, that's not to say if the right opportunity presented itself, I would be opposed to it. I mean, you know, if you pay me enough money, I'll go back to jail right now. But, uh, but no, I mean, I'm not actively pursuing it. But if the right opportunity presented itself and it made sense for me and my family, then yeah, I'd absolutely do it again. Not because of fame, but if it's the right situation for my family, it's something that's going to make my family better or make my family's lives easier, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So, I heard you say that you you keep in contact with a couple of the inmates, but do you communicate with any other the participants from this show? Were there any that stood out that caught your eye, or that you liked how they looked on TV as well?
Sure, yeah, and I actually talked to several of the participants on basically every single day, just about. We talk. Um, if not, if it's not every day, then it's every other day. Um, and so Nate and I, obviously, with both of us being Marines, we become good friends since the show. We talk just about every single day. Ryan, uh, with him being military as well, we have become good friends since the show and talk just about every single day. And I think both of those guys handled business in their own respective ways
For sure,
while they were on the show.
for sure.
They went in with the mindset of, hey, I've got this mission to accomplish and I'm going to accomplish it, and they did.
Right.
Um,
Nate was probably like 2 seconds. He could have been pod boss if he wanted to. Like if he
yeah,
had,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, if he, if that was his type, if that was, the kind of person he was, yeah, he could have had been running the place. So yeah, I definitely thought Nate looked really good on TV, and Ryan for sure.
Absolutely. And then other people that I'm in contact with, John and I have stay in contact, not as much now as before because he's traveling a lot now. Dion and I talk every now and then. Two other guys that I talk to just about every day or every other day is Johnny, from the Atlanta seasons, and
Okay.
Matt. Matt, that the Matt from season 4, not Matt that was in with his son.
Okay. Oh,
Not the other Matt.
you say you don't talk to Matt that was in with his son.
I do talk to Matt that was in with his
Okay.
son,
Okay.
not the other Matt.
Okay. Yeah, Matt was an interesting guy. That was the whole Atlanta thing was just wild in general.
Yeah.
They had a lot of hardships to overcome. So that's interesting, you guys. Of course, you guys form like seeing other people go through it. You got like a camaraderie. A very exclusive club of participants. So, even though you were on a TV show, you were in a real life, jail, in a real life situation. What advice would you have, for someone who's just trying to make it through their time?
Somebody who's just trying to make it through their time, 100%, keep your head down, stay in your lane. If it ain't your business, don't try to make it your business. And that's something I learned like immediately on walking in the door. If it doesn't concern you, ignore it. Like that's how you survive jail. You do your thing and leave everybody else alone unless they come to you. And then if they come to you, take a second and a third and a fourth look at everything that they're offering to you, because if they're offering you something, there's something in it for them. And that's just how jail works. That's just how life inside works. Is nobody's just gonna do. Okay, let me back up a little bit. I say nobody, but I'd say 99% of the people in jail are not just going to do something for you out of the goodness of their heart. If they're doing something for you, they're expecting something in return.
Right, for sure.
That's just the way jail is.
For sure. Okay, well, hey, I appreciate you talking with me. Before I let you go, one of our popular segments on my show, it's a segment we do. It's a game we play called Two Truths and a Con. So I'm gonna go over 3 scenarios. They're criminally related. 2 of them actually occurred, and one of them I made up. And so you have to just try and guess the one I made up. Does that sound cool?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So this is the first scenario. A mom in South Carolina is facing a $5,000 fine and 60 days in jail for allowing her toddler to urinate in a parking lot. Okay? Second scenario. Florida man sentenced to 60 days in jail after breaking into his neighbor's home and leaving a wild animal. Okay? And the third scenario. A man in Portland, Oregon, sentenced to 60 days in jail for sexually assaulting his dog.
Okay, so the first one with the mom and the kid urinating, I know for a fact that one's true. And she should have never got that fine because as a toddler, and toddlers need to go to the bathroom, and she was pregnant, so she couldn't carry him to the bathroom, so she let him pee.
Oh, man.
So I know that was true.
You're up on your stuff.
The second one, the Florida man leaving a wild animal, and then the third one, the Portland man sexually assaulting his dog. I am pretty sure that I read about the Florida man leaving a wild animal in the house. I think, and I may be making this up, but I think he let a wild animal, a raccoon, loose in somebody's house and left it there, and he's being charged with 60 days. That's what I think. So I'm going to go with the third one as being the false one.
The man in Portland, Oregon, and his dog. That's actually true. That's actually true. Now, while I'm sure a lot of men in Florida do have done that before, I made this particular instance up. I tried to, I figured that being in law enforcement, you'd have some kind of like, keen sense to kind of see what was true and wasn't. So I tried to trip you up the best way I could. But yeah, the Florida man sentenced to 60 days. I made that one up. The other two are actually true. But yeah, the woman, she was pregnant, and he was about to pee himself almost, as she was getting him out of the car. So that was a little bit, I thought, much.
That's overbearing, and that should have never happened. You just walk over and say, "Hey, don't do that again." You don't. I mean, it's stupidity.
Right. And the man in Oregon, he probably needs like 60 more days.
I was gonna say that's a light sentence for.
Right, yeah.
He should get a lot longer for that one.
Right, yeah, that's disgusting behavior. So, like I said, thanks a lot, man. I really do appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you so much for having me come out on the show. Hopefully I didn't bore anyone, and hopefully you make me sound good later on.
Yeah,
I genuinely appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. If you want, do you want to shout out your social medias where people can find you on Instagram?
So if you're looking for me on Instagram, it'll be Zachary Baker 1985. I was very original when I came up with that name. And then the big thing I would shout out is definitely take a look at my wife's Instagram, Unashamed1, and check out her CBD oil business that's going. And we got it's growing by leaps and bounds, and very shortly you'll see a branded product coming out from her. So
nice.
Be on the lookout for that.
Nice. I'm glad to hear good things happening for you guys. Okay, Zach. So you guys stay breezy over there, stay out of trouble, and we're looking for big things from you, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
All right, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Take care.
You too. Premium podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Premium. Anyway, if you're rocking with this episode of The Verdict, make sure you show Zach and Ashley some love. Check them out on Instagram. Binge watch season 1, season 2, 60 days in. Use the hashtag and just show them some love. Thank you, Zach, for coming on my show. Taking time out of your day. Want to stalk my life on the internet, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at House of Splash. You can also go to my website, thehouseofsplash.com, to play this episode, play all my other shows, and also stay up to date with anything else I got going on. So other than that, we out of here.